I can.
Hello and welcome to the jury roundtable for 1984 Lights Out. I have four of the six, soon to be seven jurors with me. Hopefully Amanda will be able to pop in a little bit. If not, that's okay. So we are here to discuss the merits of the final three. That final three being Austin, Josh, and Zach. So I'm leaving this more of an open format for the jurors. If they would like to go through and talk about specific people one at a time, they can. If they'd rather it be an open forum or go through the game in order, however they want to do it, that is fine with me. So I'm going to throw the floor over to you guys. I might insert some questions here and there, but for the most part, this is your guys' time.
Okay. So where do y'all want to start?
Okay.
Begin.
I don't know. Where do you want to start?
Actually, first I'll start with the cheers to making it to the jury.
I got my gallon of water.
I can't.
I'm here for the gallon of water. Okay. So after the cheers,
Devin didn't even drink.
Is that a truly
doesn't matter. He did it in spirit.
I did it in spirit.
So
it's like you made
who
it.
do you guys think has played the best game that's still left in the game? Who do y'all think?
Who has what?
Who's played the best game that you think personally?
I think
honestly, I'm gonna say Zach.
I think everyone's honestly played like an entirely different game, and they've all they all played a strong game in different ways.
I agree with you, Allie. I think
me just flat out saying Zach.
I think that Zach has played a really good game in terms of like, I guess being sociable and competition wise, just because apparently I didn't know this, but like I'm not surprised at this. Like he had his hand in like a lot of blind sides, including the one that I did with Dylan. And Devin was there too. Like he pitched it so perfectly. Like nothing against you, Allie, but like I said the whole round that I wanted you out. That was just it. I had my eyes on the prize. That's what I wanted. And then Zach perfectly planted the seed of like, well, what about Dylan? And then all he said, and then the thought started going. He kept backing me up on it. And then Devin just kind of like listened in and said a few things. And then before I knew it, I did what I did. And then
I think too, like when Zach had power, like I remember like this one time he said when he won POV that he just didn't want to waste power anytime he got it. And I felt like anytime that Zach, whether it was through a POV or whether it was through an HOH or, whether it was on a group call, like he took advantage of every single minute. So I think on paper, Zach has played the best strategical game. And then I also, that doesn't take away from what Austin and Josh have been able to do the game, but just on paper, Zach has pretty much done anything that you can ask for.
Zach has played like a perfect game, like a good resume to be a winner.
I think Zach and Josh were also really close to being first boot because they were like both nominated.
Yes.
And Zach literally could have been if he stayed up there. Mm-hmm. Josh didn't really need a lot of comms because he was just always on everyone's good side.
So then let me ask you this. If it would have been between Zach and Josh and the first vote, who would you guys have voted out? Obviously, matter at this point.
I would have done Josh because I don't think anyone deserves to be first boot in their first game.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that I didn't know that Zach was in the 10 gauge community and Zach did 10 gauge, I thought this was his first like experience with anything. He was able to kind of hide that for a little bit. People obviously knew it. Because I don't have 10 gauge, didn't know that. And so Zach coming in and just being like, hey, this is my first game. I don't really know what I'm doing. That was my impression. And then immediately we went into, it was the Tower of Hanoi veto that he won. And I was like, okay, there is no way that you don't have some sort of puzzle mind, that you don't understand how these things work, because no one pulls out Tower of Hanoi like that unless you have the mindset for it.
He
or
did
you've
that
done
in like
before.
30 seconds, didn't he?
Yeah.
I would have beat him, but no.
Not that, Kennedy, not that.
No, I would have with my practice run, but then I messed up. Shut up, Michael.
Michael didn't say anything.
I think Zach, what makes Zach's game different than the other two is that Josh and Austin at some point in the game found themselves completely on the bottom and needed to scramble, needed to pull other people in to make sure that they're safe. Whereas Zach wasn't really at the bottom necessarily in my eyes because he had those alliances, he had those people already. He didn't have to kind of go to people like Austin came to me and Austin was like, listen, we haven't worked together, but that doesn't mean we can't. Whereas Zach, I don't feel like had to do that with people because Zach had those connections from the beginning. And Josh, I feel like Josh, with the way the cards were dealt, Josh wasn't close with the people I think he needed to be just in boot order, I guess. And so Josh kind of had to like talk his way through it and get some help from people. But I think Zach was just in a good position throughout most of the game.
I was going to say Josh consistently would tell me like he felt like he was alone. He was always on the bottom. Like he felt like he didn't have nobody. So then that's just when you're just like, okay, like, well, you know, I've got your back. Well, that's what I would say. And then lo and behold, I'm assuming he voted me out.
He did.
I'm sure he did.
I can tell you more on that after when we get to Josh.
No, that's fine.
Pre-jury, Austin was never really picked for veto too, and so he was never really on anyone's radar. But also people didn't know where he lied, like Austin, because no one really knew where he lied that round. Like people just thought he was connected with like Dylan or something.
Right.
I think one thing that was hard for me with Austin is in my head, Austin and Corey were interchangeable players. They had the same play style. They were connected to the same people. And I got the same things from them with my perspective of the game. And so Austin and Corey were very, very similar. And I ended up just building a stronger relationship with Corey. And so Austin just kind of completely blew under my radar.
The thing I'll say this really quickly. The thing that separates me for when it comes to Austin versus Zach is like anytime. So like I had a pretty close connection when it came to like the people that were in a group chat that were just trying to pick off, you know, like a Kennedy or a Garrett or a Josh or whoever. Like it was very like one side versus the other. Anytime that Austin won HOH, anytime that Corey won HOH, or anytime that Dylan won HOH, none of them wanted to target Zach whatsoever. But anytime that anyone on the other side won, they had no problem throwing Austin up because they knew what kind of player he was and they knew like halfway through the game what kind of player he was going to be. I thought it was very well done by Zach to make sure that his bases were covered. That way the players that are more prone to winning competitions are not going to put him up on the block.
Right. I think he did a much better job socially.
He has felt consistently safe throughout the whole season because he had the right connections with the right people at the right times. And he made sure that he was never the very, very bottom man on the totem pole.
Right.
Like
Zach was the one person
above that. I'm assuming
Zach was the one person that I think I never would have put up. Like looking at all of my options, Zach was the one person that I don't think I would have put up. I'm so sorry, Devin. Devin's just like laughing over here because there were multiple times that if I could have.
Thanks, Kennedy. Love you too.
No, but I mean, it was what it was.
She didn't need to put me up because Allie was right there to do
it. This is why I realized. This is why I realized
talk about that.
Honestly, what I should have done was I should have just put up Kennedy and Zach.
Yeah. No, you should have put up Kennedy and Garrett.
Sweetie, it doesn't matter. I wanted to know
that's what I was going to.
Everybody
okay, that's what I was going
out for no reason.
I was going to. I should have listened to my gut.
Why do you guys want to run me over with the damn bus?
You put up the two people that
literally like, well, great.
I know. I was
people that
to,
literally put you on the block. The two people that literally put you on the block and then said to vote you out of this game at one point. And then you're like, no, I don't think I'm going to nominate Kennedy.
I am going to say on record, just on record, on the recording,
Devin out.
Just so everybody knows that yes, Devin did not decide my nominees in the double.
No,
that was all me.
Idea.
Totally me. I didn't want Corey to go. I did want Allie to go over Corey. But I kind of flipped it on Devin and got Devin out with that. Sorry.
Yeah.
I think it was a good move though, so I'm not
embarrassed. It was a good move. I just wish anyone but Allie would have won that HOH, to be honest with you.
No,
but I still love her.
But we each, I mean, everyone in the jury. Nope, never mind.
Next
question. Kennedy. I was gonna say everyone in the jury won an HOH, but no. I don't. That wasn't me trying to throw shade.
Oh, who, Amanda?
Amanda, I don't think won an HOH.
Which
is fine. Honestly, making it to jury without having power is still a cool thing. I mean, that means you survived every elimination.
Okay, so we all agree that Zach has played a pretty incredible game.
Yes.
Like he's got a nice resume stacked up. Now, I want to transition to. I sound like I'm like hosting this. Hi, hello, and
Hello and welcome.
All right. So now
the hosting job of 1984 is not up for grabs.
Michael,
Okay, then Garrett, let's make 1985 the bowling
Sorry
for
about
soup
it.
org.
Anyways, back on topic. So now let's talk about Josh. How do we feel about Josh in this game? Because I personally, from what you guys have told me, like he had final 2, final 3 deals with people a lot, and I was one of the I won't say I was one of those people. Like we didn't have like a handshake or nothing with it, but he was just like, man, I really think we need to sit in the final 3, like final 4 together. Like I think you and I would be really good together, and like just kind of rode that train. And then I guess he ran me over with the train. I guess
I'll be honest with you. So here's my monologue about Josh. He literally came to me when my back was against the wall. He was perfectly fine in the game. He had his group chat. He had everything going for him. He came to me and said, you know, I don't normally do this. I want to go to a final 2 with you. And when I give my word to someone, like I intend on keeping it all the way through, no matter what. I'm a very old school player. I've been playing orgs for a couple of years now. So like when I give my word, that's why I didn't go out of my way to anybody in the game and try to make a final 2 with anybody until I knew what I was going to do. I was probably a little late to the game because everyone had 3 or 4 final 2s. Everyone had a group chat with everyone. And I'm like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, Allie's out here giving me her word 3 different times that she's not even gonna put me up, and then kablam. You know what I mean? So
see, John said that same shit to me too. He was
I
just
want
like,
to go back
like,
to
"You
my
got
HLA train.
Like, we're
Allie's
good."
like, can we go back? Can we rewind?
Can we just
But
redo this?
But
that?
the thing is though, is that Josh said he was giving you guys his word, but then he still went back on his word and stabbed you guys in the back.
not
You
even like 48 hours. Like this was literally when I was getting put up on the block. Like this was the round that Garrett was supposed to be going home that he did that.
I think the good part about Josh is Josh knows when he needs to keep his word, and he knows that when he breaks it, that person needs to go home. When he broke his word to you, Devin, he knew that you had to go. He never broke his word to me. He kept his word to me. And so that made me trust him. If he had broken it once, I wouldn't trust him from that point on. And because of that reasoning and the way it lined up, he didn't break it with me, so I trusted him. And so fun fact about Josh was supposed to be Zach's target during Zach's HOH. I didn't want that. I said, Zach, don't do that. I don't think it makes sense. We can get Josh out at 5. I ended up winning final 5 HOH. Obviously, I was not going to take Josh out. Zach was not happy with that, whatever. But Josh kind of knew how to talk his way out of things. And because he had never broken his word with me, because he used his veto to save me, because all of these different things, I trusted him enough to have my neck out for him, to the point where Josh came to me with this pitch that he would lie about having this secret advantage that can only be used at final 5, or like the last time it could be used was final 5, which would be a double vote or some bullshit. And I was like, I think Garrett's the better one to go here. And Josh was able to kind of talk me into getting rid of Garrett in that move. And I think that's one of Josh's biggest moves specifically is the Garrett vote. Because I knew that each of them were going to do their separate thing, and I was the tiebreaker, and I 100% was going to stay loyal to Zach and keep Garrett around, but Josh was able to convince me that that's probably not the right move. Because let's be real, Garrett, you probably were going to take, if you had your choice, Zach to the final 2 was my thought.
It would have
either. You can disagree.
I'm
curious.
It would have either been him. Honestly, it was not you. Like you, like I
That's
love you.
fine.
I love
That's
you.
okay.
You had such an impressive resume that I knew that I did not stand a chance against you. And
I had no shot at the final 2.
The only person that I could beat in a final 2 was probably Austin. Honestly, that was the only person I felt like that I could have beaten, because I barely had shit in this game. I had power for 1 round and sat on the block a few times, and I mean, I wasn't like the strongest player in this.
Power doesn't always mean things. I mean, power is kind of what screwed me over because of my comps, because of my record. They knew they couldn't take me further.
Right.
And so I think if I would have thrown a couple challenges, it would have been different.
That brings an interesting point with Austin, because he has only, I guess if you want to actually like technically like get serious with it, I mean, he has one like comp win himself, his HOH, but yet he is still able to manage around socially.
And he took Callum out on his HOH. He was able to guarantee himself a jury spot, but that was about it.
He did that, but then when it came down to all of his people getting picked off, like Corey and Allie, and I guess Amanda, I don't know if Amanda was one of his core people, he still found a way to get himself to the final 3.
And here's the thing.
And I think that says something, that he was able to, because I wouldn't say like you, me, Josh, and Zach were like a tight 4.
Yeah.
But like,
we definitely were closer though. I don't think,
No,
if I'm
we
going to be
were
completely
closer.
honest, I think it was Josh who was able to convince me to get you out, not Austin. I don't think it was Austin's move
Here-
saving himself into the final 4.
no,
Here-
not
here-
that.
Even though he
I
sent me paragraphs and paragraphs of reasoning.
Here's the thing. When Garrett was saying like, oh, all of his people were picked off, like the thing for Austin is, I think if he sits next to Josh, both of them are going to play the same exact card, which is going to be, I was the bigger underdog. Like Josh was almost the first person booted. He was put up 2 times in the first 3 weeks, but Austin.
I mean,
literally-
How many
every
final
time I
noms
hear
has
that-
Austin been?
I remember Austin. and
Austin surprised me more at the jury.
Devin's
thing-
like, God.
I was like, the thing with Austin though, Austin's biggest person that he lost, everyone's gonna say, oh, well, Corey was picked off, Dylan was picked off. Austin's closest person in the game was
you.
Nick. No, it was Nick in
Oh.
week 2. Him and
Really?
Nick. Him and Nick were
Mhm.
inseparable, and it was
Really?
Nick doing all of the talking, and
Yep.
Nick was gonna try to get him and Austin into a group with Dylan and Corey and all of us. And
Wow.
the thing was, Nick was picked off in week 2.
Look
so
at Kennedy's HOH being
Austin
important.
was in this position where it was
Not
like a
that
sink or
Kennedy.
it was like sink or swim for him. So I think it puts, not to go back to Josh, but it's like with Josh, you're either sitting next to, if you're sitting next to Zach in the final 2, your plea needs to become, I played a better game, which I just don't think is going to be the case, or it's going to be against Austin in the final 2. And I think Austin played a better underdog story. His whole entire group was completely picked off, and you know,
the
he won
Ascendant
when he had
Alliance,
to.
the Ascendants people robbed.
No, the Ascendants people just, every time the Ascendants people won HOH, everybody except for me against Billy and then Dylan against Jerry, those were the only 2 times they didn't waste power. Everyone else
Can we
wasted
talk
their
about
power.
someone who really did get robbed for like half a second? And that's Jerry. Poor Jerry really
Ooh.
deserved to make it farther
Aw.
in this game. And like
I'm-
That was a
Billy
good, that was a good,
and
that was a
Peyton,
good
like
move by
like-
Dylan.
all of the pre-jurors, because they
Okay.
obviously can't be here and give their little
Listen to
spiel.
this.
All of the pre-jurors were big players.
Actually, like a little before the eviction, Dylan and I got on call. We're like, should we flip the vote? But then he was like all scared that we shouldn't.
So
Should've.
fun fact about, are you talking about the
Yeah,
Jerry
bye.
vote?
Yeah, we were gonna flip it and keep Jerry.
So do you want to know what
We
happened?
were gonna be
there?
so sneaky.
Do you want to know what happened there?
What?
So Dylan came to me and said, Kennedy, who do I vote out? And I said, I don't know. What are you thinking? And he's like, well, I think Jerry's the bigger threat, but like, I think it makes more sense to like vote out Garrett. Like, I don't know. And so I said, here's what we're going to do. I'm going to send a keyboard smash. I'm just going to type a bunch of letters on my keyboard. And if J or G, whichever one shows up first, that's who you vote. Because I knew he would tell you, Allie, what the vote was. And so basically I just hit letters on my keyboard and make sure I didn't hit the letter G. And so Jerry ended up going home for that.
Wow, I'm glad Kennedy saved my life by just not
With
pushing
keyboard.
a key.
I felt so bad though, because I didn't want Jerry to go. I
didn't
didn't
either.
vote for Jerry to go. I voted for Garrett to go because I knew that Jerry would go, and I didn't want Jerry to feel like I backstabbed him. Jerry, don't watch this.
Thanks, Kennedy. I love you too.
Garrett, I knew you weren't going.
Kennedy stabs me in the back. Then
But
she
let's talk
stabs
about that other vote
Now
where
the tie-
Devin and I voted Dylan, and Dylan didn't end up going,
And
and
then
all
me
I
and
knew was
Yeah, I remember
honestly,
that.
honestly, Kennedy, if either one of us were in the finals, I think we were gonna win based off of that move alone, where we perfectly disguised. There
Yep.
were so many people that like Garrett
Dylan
and
needed
Zach
us.
both. Garrett and Zach both knew where we were voting, and we just perfectly. As soon as the vote came out, I was like, "What are you talking about, Dylan? I saved you. What do you mean? Like
Yeah.
I knew." where
No,
the vote was
Dylan
gonna
came
go."
to us and was like, you and Devin saved me here. I owe you guys. And
Yes.
Devin and I were like, yeah, we saved you.
Yeah,
Totally.
did. That was another
that was
Great
so
vote.
crazy.
That was a
crazy one.
wild vote. Holy shit.
Yeah.
It really was.
And that
I
remember
missed
that was on Josh's HOH, and regardless of that being a huge HOH, to me at least, I don't know for you guys, Josh never came to me and was like, I want this. I know he like really wanted Peyton out of the game,
He never told me that, though.
When he
Yeah,
puts,
he didn't
yeah,
tell
he
me
never
that
told
Aiden
me.
and I had
And
a
he
fight
put up-
too.
He put up me and Dylan, two people that put him up on the block, and wasn't able to get either one of us out of the game that round. I
Right.
think
Actually, no. Peyton and I just had like a penalty because we also are really close friends too.
I think Peyton's
So-
you and Peyton's final two, and you openly saying that you wanted Dylan gone potentially could have messed up your game because everyone tied you so close to Dylan, and Dylan immediately went back on you.
Yeah.
But
I
I
never
think you
saved
navigated
Dylan
that
when he was on
really
the
well.
block, though.
I think you navigated that really well, Allie.
Yeah, I literally like never saved Dylan. It's funny because I never saved Dylan when he was on the block, but there was one time in the Ascena chat or something, he was like, "I'm just gonna do what Allie wants to do."
That was something I noticed a lot early game is people or kind of throughout the game is there would always be a specific person where it was like, okay, I'll do what you do, and then it would kind of domino effect
Yeah.
down, and that's how the early votes were kind of decided. I know there was one One big thing.
This game also got me really close to Corey too, because like
Oh, I love Corey. I love
and
Corey so much. I cried when Corey left. I felt stupid, but I cried.
remember that.
Also,
That was-
Devin, screw you for when I asked you to tell Corey, and you're like, I'm supposed to tell you something about how corny Kennedy is, and I was like, awesome, fuck you.
I'm actually playing.
I'm not gonna lie, I was so heated when Kennedy came to my DMs after I was supposed to be getting voted out, and she was like,
And I was like, hey, can
please
you tell
mind-
Corey that I'm
just
sorry?
the way she worded it was basically like, hey, can you go like jury campaign for, like, can you go do jury management?
No,
for
I didn't want you to jury
I know-
manage. I
I
just
know-
wanted
I know
you to
it's
tell
not-
Corey that I was
yeah.
sorry.
I know.
Do you wanna know-
what you
Devin,
meant,
do you wanna
but
know
it
a
was literally
secret?
Like, I got 12 hours before I'm potentially getting voted out, and that's what you want to talk to me about right now.
Do you want to know a secret?
What?
I never asked Garrett to do that.
Yeah, I know you didn't.
I told you that I'd tell you and
Okay,
Garrett,
guys.
but I didn't
Okay,
tell
guys.
Garrett.
Okay, guys. I love you. I love you all, but let's keep this about the final three. We can
Ah,
talk about this at the
fine.
reunion.
Sorry.
Fine.
Ugh. We just get so
So-
sidetracked so easily. Okay.
I do.
I know. Okay, so I'll kind of go in. So I, in the jury phase, had power a lot of the times, and I feel like a lot of the time my power wasn't just my power, and I feel like I shared it with Zach a lot. I think Zach and I discussed moves, and I think we did things together. And even though I was the one who had the power, I think Zach had a lot of influence over the moves that I made and the decisions that I made. Because I really did want it to be Zach and I for that final two. And that's, I mean, if I would have flat out told Josh, no, you're not my final two, who knows what would have happened. But I definitely think that Zach has a big selling point there. I think the only thing that's gonna like piss me off is if he tries to own my moves rather than say that we did them together. And that's kind of going to be for any of them. They need to know what they did versus what they did with other people, because if they try to claim moves, so if Zach tries to claim the entire Devin move, no, because Allie put Devin up, I was loud, Zach was also loud. So it's you have to know when to push what you did and when to push what you did in groups and highlight what
Remember
you did,
that
I guess, if
one
that makes
call?
sense.
Remember that one call before
When we all called except for Devin?
I was like, should we add Devin here? And then somebody's like, no.
No, literally everyone in the cast called except for Devin in that
Yeah.
move.
The thing,
Yeah,
the thing
Yeah, it was like it's supposed to be, I think, just Zach.
And then
then
Allie, you
and
tried to
someone
tell me not to use veto. We all called
did.
except for Devin, and then Allie was like, "Please don't use veto. Stop trying to control my HOH." And I was like, "Honey, I'm using this veto." I will be doing that.
No,
I'm
you
not,
said-
even, I'm not even gonna go. I'm not even gonna go there because Blake's gonna yell at me for like getting away from the final three.
But
the thing,
that's a good move on Zach's part because he knew that I would use veto to save him.
The thing with Zach was like, anytime Zach won POV, the first thing that crossed my mind was like, okay, what conversation is Zach gonna have with the current HOH? Because Zach won more POVs than he did HOH clearly. And
I believe he won
every-
2 HOHs and 3 or 4 POVs.
Yeah,
Three.
Four,
It'll be-
I
is it
think.
3 now?
Was there ever a time where he won POV and just did not use it? Like
No. He
Because
always
Zach
uses-
uses power when he gets it.
And
Mhm.
every time he used it, I'm pretty sure he got. The thing was, I'll say this over and over again. If there's like awards at the end of this, the best move of the whole entire season was the
Getting you
call
out.
between no, not that one, because that was the worst move. That was the worst move by Ali's game. The worst move. But anyways,
Sorry.
the best move of the whole entire season was when Zach, Garrett, and I all got on call. Garrett from the get-go says, I want Ali gone. I want Ali gone. I want Ali gone. Zach wins the POV, Garrett wins POV. Garrett can get no more blood on his hands. Garrett is good to go for the whole entire round. Take out Ali, no blood on his hands. And then Zach pitches this. And the thing was, like, I would have rather kept Dylan because Dylan's not going to put me up. But the pitch was so.
It was really good.
Zach's behalf that there was no way, unless I was going to expose myself for just being tight with Dylan, there's no way for me to be like, no, like stick with Ali. Like, you don't have the numbers. The numbers were there all the way through. It was a great move.
I think another thing, so with Corey's, I believe it was Corey's second HOH is when Garrett and I were the noms.
Yes.
Zach and I sat on call and we were so upset with how it went. We were so like we were pretty much counting ourselves out of the entire game. This was at like I want to say final 9, final 10. Maybe earlier. Was it final 9? It was 9
because that was when Amanda went home.
Right.
Yeah.
And so we kind of figured that we were like done, our games were over, and we from that point on, convincing Corey to put up Amanda, that entire move, Zach kind of strategized and we kind of worked through that. And I think that is what saved both of our games.
Honestly, like
is Corey putting up Amanda and then Corey going in the double.
Corey putting up Amanda, me putting up Devin was the stupidest move.
I was gonna say if Allie's move to put me up wasn't the worst one, then a very close second would have been the round right before, which would have been Corey putting up Amanda, knowing that if Amanda goes on the block, Amanda is gonna go, and Corey wasn't even there in the double eviction to defend themselves.
I hated that. I hated that so much.
Which was poor, but like you gotta see that. You gotta see that coming when you put up. No offense to him, Kennedy got mad at me when I said Amanda wasn't a big player, and how I was disregarding her. But like, she admitted to throwing every single competition. She wasn't online. Like, it was just not worth the back door. Yeah. It wasn't worth it whatsoever.
I know. I think I just think that even though I feel like I am not solely me, because I'm sure other people did, but I know I got on call with Corey right away because I had one POV. I got on call with Corey. I said, this is what I think should happen. I think you should do either Ali or Amanda. They ended up doing Amanda. Obviously, I don't know what happened between that. But yeah, specifically because Zach and I were so close. If Zach and I were not as close as we were, I would not have pushed for Amanda to go. I wouldn't have pushed for like all of these things. And then like, because that's what Zach wanted. Zach said, this is what we think we should do. And I feel like he specifically just told me, this is what I think we should do. And kind of had me be the loud one and take the hit for a lot of the stuff. So he kind of knew how to navigate when not to speak up, because you're going to get people mad for that. I think he did a really good job with that.
And that's not a way of saying like that Zach just didn't want to get the blood on his hands. He picked and chose the battles that he wanted. Yeah. I felt like Austin also picked and chose the battles he wanted when he called out everyone saying him and Zach weren't a final 2, yada yada. And now look at them, like they're 2 of the last 3 people in the game.
And honestly,
I believe
I'm honestly gonna say like Josh is just such a good talker too. Like I feel like he'll probably surprise us with because
Josh
he just won another game.
My thing with Josh is
won multiple
like
games.
what was the one move from Josh that he's gonna put out if he makes the final 2? What's he gonna claim as his one move? Because there was honestly, I could just
what did he do?
Towards the end, Josh convincing me to talk to Zach and say, hey, like Josh making that connection with me and say, Zach, do not put Josh up, keeping Josh that round, then me winning HOH and Josh convincing me to get out Garrett is probably what I see as Josh's best move. But that happened at what, final 5?
That's 5.
You have to make moves before that.
You have to have a resume.
For that, the only thing that I would like really say he did was, I mean, he got out Peyton, but like that was.
But that was early. You have to do things.
Yeah, no, that's the thing though. That was like super early in the game, and he did nothing. I feel I don't know this personally,
right?
But from my point of view, it was just some block, be on the HOH, move, social, move final 5.
Right.
What did he do?
But to argue that, I know he was close with Jerry.
There, like the final whatever to the final 5.
Right. I know he was close with Jerry. Jerry going wasn't good for him. I believe he was close to Billy. I could be wrong, but like a lot of the people that went pre-jury were probably, when Josh saw this cast, were like, these are my allies, these are who I'm going to talk to. And they went pre-jury, they went fairly early. So him to kind of scramble and have, I don't know how close Josh was with you guys. I know he was fairly close with me. For him to have that was helpful.
Yeah. And I know like it would have been a fantastic move if Josh the whole entire round would have wanted Peyton out as the back door. I felt like at that point when he won HOH, his mindset was pretty much, two of the first 3 HOHs have already put me up on the block. And if one of them come down, like I'm just going to pick the next biggest threat. But my issue with Josh in that round is he never made his target clear, and he made every one of the voters basically talk to one another and try to figure out what they want to do for themselves and just have chaos. If he was, it could have been such a clean cut move to say, I want Peyton gone. This is, who I'm going to get is the votes to do it. This is what I'm going to establish. Instead, he was just trying to make the biggest move possible, which is fine. But I felt like it just wasn't clean.
But why did he cause the chaos though when he didn't need to?
Because he did the opposite of what Corey and Austin and everyone else on the Ascendance people did, which was basically like, and for me too, like when I put up Billy and Jerry next to one another, I was okay with either one of them going, but I put up Josh knowing that Josh was going to stay on almost a unanimous vote. The difference was Josh could have been the same exact way saying, Dylan, I'm going to save you, don't worry. But he decided to just leave every one of the nominees that he put up, out to dry, and was basically like, well, whoever goes. I'm not going to push either one of them. I didn't like it.
I think Josh had really good damage control though. I mean, when things like that happened, he knew how to dig himself out of those holes, and he knew who he needed to talk to and what he needed to say. I think Josh definitely had the damage control more than he had social. I think he talked to people when he needed to, when moves needed to happen. When in early game, Josh and I didn't talk a lot. We didn't game plan a lot, but I knew that we were going to talk about votes, and we were going to talk about veto, and we were going to talk about those things. But Josh and I didn't really talk about like actual things until later on in the game, when I knew that he didn't have those bigger allies that he talked to, because he knows to the extent that he needs to talk to each person, and he doesn't go any further.
I'll be honest with you, Josh could be the second coming of Jesus Christ, and I probably won't vote for him in this vote.
And that's fine.
Just the fact that he made so many final 2 alliances, some very early on in the game, some when he felt like his back was up against the wall, some when he felt like he needed to establish position, and he just turned. The only question I tell you right now, my question to him is just going to be, Josh, all I want is a number for your answer. How many final 2s did you make with the people currently sitting on jury? And then he's going to answer and I'm going to say, thank you. That's all I have to say. And then I'm going to mute myself, and then I'm done for the day. That's all I have to say.
But like, what's the point in making all those deals if you're just going to stab everyone in the front and in the back? I mean, that's not.
But
good
he knew
jury-
when
but
to
that-
stab them
but
in the
that's-
back.
But that's not good.
That's the
jury
thing.
management, though.
It's poor jury management.
Oh, his jury management is garbage, but his game
That
is
just
good.
pisses people
Yeah.
off.
I think he's had a good game though. And I
No,
think
I
it comes
think he's
down
playing
to,
a
are we
fun
going to
game.
be a bitter jury,
His
or are we
jury
going to be
management,
game
though,
respects
is
game?
just not good.
He always kept saying to
Obviously,
me, I was
Devin
like,
is pissed at him.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not like the happiest camper in the world with him,
I think
because he wanted me to. He's told me, he's like, I want you in the final 4. Like, we're good.
I think
And then, like-
specifically with Devin is a person. Hi, Devin. I'm going to talk about you as you're right there. Devin is someone that
we
will
go.
respect
Get my
game
drink
moves,
ready.
because when I came into the jury, Devin flat out said, yeah, I was rooting for you. It was a good move what you did. And I don't think that Josh made the move. Yes, game respects game, but I don't think Josh made the move that you really need to like respect the way he did it. I think
agree.
it got him to where he is, but I don't think it put him in a good position.
It would have been different if, like, trust me, I'm the biggest. The first season of Survivor I ever watched was Samoa with Russell Hantz. I would have respected Josh had he made all of these deals and he had the resume throughout the whole entire game where it was like, dude, like, how can you not vote for this guy at the end? Like, if he had Zach's game, if Zach had come to everyone and was like, hey, like, final two, and still was in the final 2, I would have respected it, because Zach made a lot of moves. The thing with Josh was, it was poor jury management, and his 2 biggest moves were one at the final 5, it sounds like, and the other one of backdooring Peyton when Peyton wasn't even his target in the very beginning of the round.
Josh relied on other
It just
people to
doesn't
carry
have
him
the
through
resume to
game.
back up a jury vote. Personally, I don't think he
Yes.
has that. He doesn't
Yeah.
have the resume for it.
I do believe that he
Personally.
won more comps than he has in other games. Josh isn't a comp beast. That's not his thing. And so I think he's done well in the comps, but I don't think it's enough to actually like combat. I personally think right now I would vote Zach over anyone, and then Austin and Josh are kind of gonna have to give their pitch.
I just
I
think,
think I would,
Austin. Go ahead, Garrett.
I mean, if Zach is there, like Zach has the impressive like resume. It's just, I think Austin has the better underdog story, and like something that like I appreciate from people is that if they're upfront with me about shit, and that was just something that, you know, before I left, Austin was very upfront with me about things, and I told him, I said, when Kennedy won HOH, I said if I had it my way, you would still be in this game. Like I want us to stay together because I wanted to work with Austin at that point. And then I mean, Josh said he wanted to work with me too, but then he just kind of stabbed me there. So I didn't appreciate that. Plus, when you look at Josh's track record in certain competitions, I mean, I talked about this with Kennedy too. And the endurance comp, with the wall sit, he lasted what, 3.5 minutes?
Right.
Which was nothing. And then all of us lasted
an hour.
Well, I lasted 55 minutes and then almost an hour. So I mean, like, doesn't that tell you something that like
something.
I mean, he's an adult, so I feel like he could at least wall sit for more than 3.5 minutes.
Garrett's so upset about the wall sit.
I haven't wall sat since I was probably in junior high. So like, how did I do it for
Your
so long?
junior high and my junior high are not that
just
very far apart.
It just, I don't know, that just burns me up a little bit. Like I feel like he didn't try as hard in competitions as Zach.
It depends though, because he did in the card tower.
No, in the card tower he did phenomenal, but that was something that he said. That was something he said. I do for fun, so I know how to do this.
Right.
I remember Josh actually told me, he's like, I'm gonna keep you because loyalty. I know Kennedy and Garrett are voting you out though.
Yeah.
So like at least he was loyal.
I think Josh, see, it's interesting because Josh, so one thing Austin said is that he had a deal. So when Austin like was like, this is my spiel and why I hate being in this position, blah, blah, blah. He said, I have deals with both of you, but I had deals with one of you longer. And that was Josh because he ended up keeping Josh. And that was interesting because I didn't see Josh and Austin talking. That wasn't something I really expected. Obviously they're going to because you have a few people left in this game, but I didn't expect them to actually have some sort of deal and some sort of like, let's work together. And I think they did a pretty good job of hiding that because I don't think I really ever heard Josh say Austin's name. I know Austin definitely threw Josh under the bus, final 5. But I mean, that's kind of what you have to do when you feel like your back's up against the wall.
Right.
And so I think that specifically him saying that was pretty interesting to me because I didn't really expect them to be working together. Honestly, if Austin would have kept me over Josh, I think Austin would have lost any chance. Like if I would go third, Austin would have lost any chance for me voting him because keeping me final 3 made no sense. And I think like Austin knowing to make that move, obviously it was an obvious move. Obviously, I hate the way I worded that. But the way he was saying that he was linked to Josh as I was going out was really interesting to me because I didn't expect that.
The one thing I'll say, the biggest difference between Austin and Josh came at the most intense point in the game, which was fresh off of the double eviction. Like I know Kennedy was obviously really upset and everyone, like nobody wanted to talk that night. It was just a ghost town. Everyone wanted to take the night to themselves.
Yeah. Yep.
And the next day, like I knew Austin was going to be upset with me because I voted out Amanda and I voted out Corey. The biggest difference between Josh and Austin was the conversations that I had fresh off of the double eviction. With Austin, I told Austin, I was like, hey, like we should probably talk, try to get back on the same page. And Austin was like, not playing around with me. He was like, I don't want to call you. Like, if you want, you can message me and you can give your side of things, but like, I'm not going to pretend to be fake with you. And I actually got a lot more respect out of that than I did with Josh, who basically just said, I just feel, his exact words were, I feel so alone in the game, yada, yada, yada. And after that was when he made his final 2 pitch with me. And no, obviously like not word for word.
I love how you said his exact words, yada, yada, yada.
His exact words were, I feel so alone in the game. Like I'm nobody's number one. He was basically just trying to copy my story or copy someone else's story the whole entire time. But like that's the difference was Josh wasn't alone, but he was very fake about the conversations. I knew Josh's position in the game, and I knew that he knew where the numbers were going to be each of those votes. Whereas Austin didn't know, and instead of Austin being like, I have to work with Devin, that's my only way, Austin instead, kept a clean board and he told it as it was.
That's more
I disagree with that.
Fake, though.
I have way more respect. I have way more respect for someone who does that.
But I disagree with that because
Devin
Austin
be buying it and he keeping the receipt on Austin. He returned Josh. He said, no, thank you. I don't want that fake ass shit.
But when Austin and Corey were each going to put me up, I tried talking to both of them and they both said, I'm going to give you a chance to speak. And neither of them actually gave me a chance to speak. I asked them throughout the day. I was like, listen, can we talk? And they ignored me. And I know that each of them had done that with more people. Austin just kind of ignored people throughout the game and then was like, well, it's not really either of our faults.
That's how it was when he put me up. He was like,
yeah.
I was like, you want to talk about things?
Like,
so
Austin,
I just want to know where your head is at. Like, if it's me, I get it. Just tell me.
Yeah.
Right.
And then,
Garrett, was that Austin that put you and I up, or was that Corey? Or both?
It was both. It was when Austin put me up,
Both
put you
of
and
them.
I up together because he made those.
Yes, because it was
about
Callum
us.
was my renom.
And he was just like, I'll tell you more at the nomination ceremony. And I just wanted to know then, like, why can't we have a private conversation about this instead of like
that exactly right there.
But like front siding me to it and just being like, I'm
Yep.
doing it at noms. This is why. Like, tell me before noms and we can have this conversation privately.
In private.
I don't care putting up, just tell me.
He told me, he was like, well, I am gonna. So basically, I tried messaging throughout the day. I knew he was talking to other people. I tried messaging him throughout the day and I was like, listen, can we talk about this? Can we talk about this? Can we talk through this? Can we talk through this? Whatever. He ignored all of it. And I said, Austin, you told me you'd give me a chance to speak. You have not done that. So now I am going to send you a paragraph because I deserve to speak.
Yeah, but that should be on his part, though.
Yes. But then he said, I understand all of this. I respect your game, but I am going to have to put you up. Some things have come to my attention. And I just because of those reasonings that we can talk about later, blah, 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 blah. That right there is not giving someone a chance to defend themselves. And I think had he done that, I would have either of us would have been potentially able to flip his noms or change his noms in a different direction. And I think that is a great move on his part, as much as it pissed us off, because he knew that we would fight his noms. He knew that we would be, specifically Garrett, you and I, would be able to say, this is why you shouldn't put me, or we would throw someone else under. And with him doing that, he was able to get the people that he wanted up, even though it pissed us off. As much as I don't respect the move for not letting us talk, I do respect the reasoning behind it.
I was gonna say it gives me literally like PTSD, because you realize what you're talking about is literally the same thing when I was spamming Allie messages. Don't put me up like they're literally on call with you, manipulating you. Like, at least give me the chance to call. And then all of a sudden it was the nom ceremony. So like,
Devin, you like to be the last word though, and we knew we couldn't let you do that.
I know. But like you said, you can't be mad because it was a great move to.
No, it was a great move. It was just annoying.
I remember Corey calling with me, Corey and Austin both talking to me the night before, like the night they were already sold on what they were gonna do. It wasn't finalized by any means, but they knew what they were gonna do. So there wasn't really any point in shifting their minds, because honestly, like had Kennedy or Garrett, whoever won the HOH that round, it would have definitely been Austin and Corey or Austin and Dylan or whoever on the block.
For
so
sure.
I can't be too mad at Austin.
No, as much as I hate the way they did it, I understand the reasoning. I typed out a big old paragraph. Michael knows this. I typed out a big old paragraph and I sent it to my prod chat. I said, Michael, I have something to say. But I didn't say it because I realized that would have potentially fucked up my chances at anything. And then when Corey ended up going in the double, Austin immediately swooped in and said, I hate Devin. Let's get Devin out. And I said, I'm all for that. He didn't say I hate Devin.
Austin was like,
Austin like immediately just flipped on Devin, and that allowed Austin and I to work together. And as much as I absolutely hate it, me having as much power as I did, I hate making that sounds like I ran shit. I did
People
not.
want to talk
But like
to you after
they were under my umbrella of safety, and they were able to convince me to keep them safe. Granted, I did put Austin up, whatever, but like
oh my god,
it just kind of worked.
When we were on that call without Devin right before my noms,
Austin didn't say anything,
or right before veto, or whatever it was. Austin messaged me. He was like, Devin was in an alliance with Garrett and Zach. He was all like shocked.
Devin was in an
thing.
alliance with you and me, Allie. And
I know.
Devin, if you would have talked more in that group, if we would have actually called in things, I think it would have gone a little bit different. But I
With
think
who?
specific
Me, you, and Allie.
me, you, and Allie. But
I-
because
I
me
would've
and
done
Allie
it.
were
My
talking
best.
about how we
Everybody
have
has
to
alliances and
I
shit.
wasn't-
had
I
one
wasn't-
thing,
I
and
was
that was
not- I was fine
it.
with
I
doing
didn't
it.
have like 50 million side deals like y'all did. I had one group. Now, if you count the bottom line, I guess you count that as two.
Yeah.
Maybe, I don't know. But like my one solid core group was like me, Devin, and Zach, and then I had like nobody else, like nothing else like
had-
solidified.
Yeah.
Man, y'all are so much more slick than I am.
I mean, the thing
I'm about as slick as dry pavement.
the thing with Austin though that I'll say to sort of get back on track, the one thing I'll say against Austin, the one time he was in complete control of the game, similar to Josh, where I said I didn't like Josh's move of how he handled getting paid.
He got out Callan.
Like you have the ability to hand someone the last
Jury.
pre-jury spot. You get to decide who goes to jury and who does not in this game. And you're starting off the round hot and heavy. And then when your back is pushed up against the wall,
not hot and heavy.
you decide that Callum
It's me.
is the best person for the last pre-jury spot. The man who could not compete after volunteering because he had COVID and he was
I was
too
gonna say
busy
he had
partying-
COVID.
and he was too busy
Callum,
partying
if you're watching this later
and
on,
he was too busy
sorry.
partying on the weekends with COVID. I mean, I love the guy to death, but that was just
Oh, he's a wonderful human. Just
yeah.
I think if Austin would have been smarter, he would have made a bigger move then.
Yeah.
I think he
But
should have
he-
done something bigger.
I don't
personally.
remember who I had the conversation with though. It might have been Austin, but I definitely had the conversation that I think everyone here at least has played a harder game than Callum, and I think everyone else deserved a jury spot. And I think if that was the narrative in
I
Austin's
agree.
head, it made more sense to get Callum out there, even though it wasn't a big move.
Yeah, it was definitely a like, okay, well, I didn't get my two targets out. Now I sort of need to protect myself going into jury. Had
And
he
just
put
get
up-
somebody out
I don't
easy.
recall who won the comps in that event or that round, but
For what
he-
round?
That
The
veto
going
was-
into the jury, I believe was Corey.
that veto, I think that was the
No, it wasn't Corey. Austin
was
The
that
won-
veto?
card? Was that the
Austin
card
won
tower?
HOH.
Was that the card tower?
Yes, it had to have been
And-
because
and,
I was
Josh-
an initial nom, and
Tower.
I don't think I was ever a final nom until 4 or 5.
Yeah, that's
Four.
true. 4 is 4.
4. I don't think I was a final nom.
So
And now we're not talking. I hated how
That-
awkward and silent that got.
that's the first silence we've had this whole time. So, anyways,
You don't get silence with us 4.
silence
True.
is gold and duct tape is silver. Strap them bitches up and let's get going.
Oh my god.
I know I'm a hoot and a half, y'all. I know y'all have missed this about me. I've always got something to say. So, sorry, I had to get a drink of a true. A true.
Are we
Keep it
talking
not
about
liquid.
everyone a good balanced amount?
Can I
Yeah,
get
I
a brand
think so.
dealership with Truly? Like, are you watching?
Starbucks.
Can I get a sponsorship? Is that a thing? Hi, sponsor me. Anyways, we need to get back on track. So, where's the track at?
I'm waiting for you to ask a question, Garrett. Or Brent.
Well, I don't know what question they did ask. So,
Where's
as of
Mike
right
at a time
now?
like this?
As of right now, just based off of everything that we know, not hearing final speeches, who is left, who are you guys inclined to vote for personally?
Zach.
As of right now, like knowing just what we know and nothing else.
And I think it's
No
a little different
speeches,
because
just-
I think it's different because I think a lot of my moves I had with Zach in mind. A lot of the things that I did, I wanted to do with Zach and I's best interest, and that makes me more inclined to want Zach to win because, I mean, I don't know. It is what it is, but like Zach
it
was
is-
able to convince me to do that. Zach was able, like, I trusted Zach enough for him to fuck me over at Fort. No, I'm just kidding. I trusted Zach enough to have him in mind and to want his best interest. I flat out told him, I believe I told him when I was pouty and stupid because I didn't want Garrett to go, that I would rather have him and Josh go after me than me go after one of them. And that's fucking stupid to say, but I believe I said that.
Kennedy.
Because that's how bad I didn't want to go after Zach.
Kennedy.
So I have a question. So obviously we know that part 1 was won by Austin, part 2 was won by Zach.
Oh yeah.
So does one of them winning and taking a certain person affect how you vote?
I don't think I think Zach has to win. I don't think either of them take Zach.
If Zach doesn't win
don't
part
think
3,
so.
I think he's done in this game.
Yep. I think Zach
he
will
is
get third
done.
unless he wins part 3. And I think Austin will take Josh.
I think
I
so
was
too.
gonna say,
Yeah,
if
Austin
ahead.
trusted Josh a lot.
Zach has the best track record against them right now. So
Yeah.
if they're smart, they will take him out, and then
Yeah.
it's going to come down
So
to what. Then it's going to come down what they say on Saturday night and how.
If Zach takes Josh, that makes me even more inclined to vote
You-
Zach.
you
Absolutely,
don't
100%.
you never
Yeah,
know
same.
though. You never know what they're thinking though, because honestly, on paper, just as a juror, if I'm looking at the final 3 right now, they would be crazy to take Zach. They'd be crazy to take Josh, who's already won a spinoff of this game before, and they would be crazy to take Austin, who everyone knew going into this. Like Corey has already flat out said, if Austin gets to the final 2, like Corey's not even going to show up on the night of.
And just
final
vote
He's
for
two.
us.
Austin. So
Corey-
that's
I
one
know,
less
I know
vote for
Corey's
him.
already going to vote a certain way. I already know Amanda's going to vote a certain way.
How's
And
Amanda
I
voting?
think-
Josh?
Yeah, no, they're both going
Zach?
to vote Austin. If Austin
Yeah.
makes it, Corey and Amanda will both
See,
vote for
I
Austin.
don't like that because I don't think they see all the reasoning. I think they're a little bit biased and a little bit of a bitter jury, but I get
I
it.
don't think it's bitter jury. I think it's just when
I guess
it's like
they
having a close deal with someone and then having that person just against all odds and still make it. Like
I was gonna say, I think
Austin
Corey
has
and Amanda
no-
were kind of
Austin-
at the bottom,
Austin
and so
has
having
no-
another player at the bottom at the end, it's
If it
kind of
cut-
like it's their story at the end. I
If
understand
Austin
that.
wins,
Yeah.
if Austin wins part 3 and he cuts Zach, I literally have no clue who I'm voting for. It will come down
If
to
Austin takes Zach, I'm not voting for Austin.
Allie, just ask Kennedy what she wants to do, and you'll probably end up.
Devin! Devin!
Stop!
Not
Stop!
that. Oh,
Devin!
Or just ask me what I
Honestly,
want. and do
I
the
might
opposite.
just maybe I'll vote Josh.
Allie's like, you know what? Fuck you, Devin. If we're ever in a game together, I'm gonna get you back.
Yeah.
not that.
she
I'm
goes.
I
She goes.
think-
I feel like just because also Josh didn't I'm like someone who doesn't even care about comps that much because like it's more better on social and strategic game. Like Josh is just a really good talker, so I could probably vote for him.
Josh
No,
has a really
no.
good way with
Oh,
words.
boy.
But like
But-
what I
Alec-
look for in somebody is I want a
I'm-
little bit of some competition wins, but I also want to see their social aspect of it. Like
You want to
I don't think given that I feel like I'm kind of contradicting myself now, you don't need a shit ton of wins
Yeah.
to win this game. Like
But
you
you need.
can, but he at least has one win under his belt, which is more than plenty of people, not in
And
this
if you
jury,
win,
but like
if he wins that final 3, that's all he needs. That's
That-
really
yeah,
the only win
that
he
literally-
actually
he-
needs.
he has only won one competition and competed in very few vetoes, but if this is the competition that he needs to win now,
The
like
thing
it
with
doesn't matter when you win, he just needs a win now, personally.
The thing.
So-
The thing. No, go ahead. Go ahead. You're good.
Well, so let's look at it at okay. If Zach wins and take Austin, if Zach wins and takes Josh, if Austin wins and take Zach, and if Austin wins and take Josh, because Josh can't win, right? Josh can't
Right.
win final 3. So let's look
Josh
at the
cannot win part 3.
so let's look at the 2.
Mm-mm.
Sorry, Josh, but I think Josh has a shot at final 2. If Austin wins, I think he
Absolutely.
takes Josh, and I think if Zach wins, I think he takes Josh.
So
But the
I
thing
think either
is-
way, Josh has a guaranteed seat in the final two,
But-
but
But
Mhm.
it doesn't
Maybe.
help. It doesn't help Josh's game, like from getting to the final 3 to the final 2. It does. He's getting carried to the final.
He's
2
getting
either
carried.
way, and he knows.
yeah, that's
Austin,
it, but,
it's
like,
gonna help.
Paul has
It's
a
gonna
seat in the
help
final
Austin.
two, and that's something that
You know
Alex
what?
has.
If Zach wins part 3 and takes Josh, I'm voting Josh.
Why?
No. Oh Lord!
Why?
Someone
Devin,
replace her
I just-
account immediately.
I just don't
Put her
want-
in jail. Put
I
her
just
in
don't
jail
wanna
right
No,
now.
I just
Yeah.
want to see the reasoning.
I just don't really. I just feel like he relied more on comps,
But like Zach had his hand
How?
in like
and
a
also
lot-
he literally just relied on Kennedy.
That's fair.
man won. What?
That's fair.
Do not
Well,
tell me
no,
that's fair.
no, I understand the
No,
reasoning
what
because
I
you
will-
guys
what
weren't
I
on the
will give
one-on-one
Zach
calls with Zach.
Is that Zach pitched the Dylan move absolutely perfectly. I will
Yeah,
stand by that. Even though I was in power, he pitched it perfectly.
But
I
Zach didn't
bought
tell
it.
me about it.
I
Devin
didn't.
did.
I threw away the receipt. What?
Zach didn't tell me about it though.
What, Kennedy?
Devin did. I would say early game, the things that Zach, or like not early game, but mid game, the things that Zach want and the things that you three kind of decided, Devin took credit for, and Devin got the brownie points for or whatever. I don't think Zach was really the one speaking out those things
Making
and
it
pitching them,
open.
except for to you three. And so I think Zach not hid behind Devin, but I think Devin was more. Devin
More
and
of a
I
shield
were
for
more
him.
the shields for Zach to give us his thoughts and for us to kind of play them
Make the move.
until I took you out, Garrett, at Final Five. So I think
difference.
it's yeah.
And also, if you want,
I
if
wouldn't say
you
it's Puppet Master though. I
Technically,
wouldn't go to
not
that
gonna
extent because we
lie.
each did our own games.
just
Right.
even if that was
Devin's so
even
upset.
even if the Dylan move was his, it was technically the house move. It wasn't just
Oh
his.
No,
No, because
No,
Zach was
no,
able to
no.
convince.
Allie,
Allie, you
know,
would have gone
you
there.
be gone from this.
Allie,
game
you would
if
have
it wasn't for
100% gone.
You would have
I
been gone
talked
there.
to- I talked to Kennedy, Devin, Zach, Austin wanted you gone. Corey would have wanted you gone.
Garrett's
even though
like-
I know Corey was sitting on the block. Like Dylan would have wanted you gone. He told me to my face that he was going to vote you out.
He would.
He
And
said we only need 4 votes, and we already have the 4 votes to get Allie out. I
The thing
promise
was-
you.
the difference between what Allie was saying, relying on competition wins indicates that he
You
was
won
ever
comps.
he was in danger or he felt like he needed to win when he was safe. He was
He wasn't.
winning POVs even when he didn't need to win POVs, and every time he won, he was going to that
He made a
HOH and
move.
seeing what was the best possible move. He knew that getting out Allie wasn't as beneficial as getting out Dylan. He knew that getting out whoever against Corey wasn't as beneficial as getting out Corey. Like there was an endless amount of moves that Zach made in this game.
Zach
My
just
thing-
owned the strategic part of this game.
Yes.
I'm
And the
just
thing
voting
is,
for-
Absolutely.
if-
Yes.
if Austin wins this final HOH and brings Josh, it's going to be a pure story versus story because neither one of them blew the
True.
competition section. Neither one of them were running the game by any means.
Right.
But I just think that Josh is going to be a better talker. But Austin, just for me, on
Has the better
paper,
story.
without hearing the speeches, has the much better story.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
See, I think it's interesting because I have seen Josh's play style, I've heard Josh's play style, I have all of these things. And Josh very much finds someone or a couple people early game that he gets really, really close to, and he relies on them all the way throughout. He wasn't able to do that this game because the people that he was close to were taken out pre-jury. I think
Mhm.
that is what Josh needs to sell. Is he couldn't play the way he normally does, so he had to figure it out, and he's still at the final 3.
But if he gets to
My-
the final, is he going to sell that story? That was the thing.
Is
The-
he
the
gonna
problem
know?
is-
Yeah,
Moves.
The problem
That's what I don't know.
his story is gonna, if he does that though, his story is gonna be, it sounds like you're telling Josh to sell an underdog story, whereas Austin
Austin had the underdog
lost,
story.
he lost his number 1 person in the game, which was Nick at the second round, whereas Josh, Jerry, Billy all had plenty of opportunities to win competitions.
But I think for it to be that early, I mean, it was the second week. That's like saying, yeah, Chloe was this person's number 1 ally, and like they had to go the whole game without Chloe. Like
Mhm.
you can kind of work around a week 2 eviction.
Normally, yes, but the difference here was one, Dylan's list, and being
Oh
absolutely
God, not his
pol-
list.
Not Dylan's
being
list.
absolutely
Let's bring her
polarizing and
back.
splitting the house 50-50. And Nick was his gate to get into that alliance. Without Nick in the game, Austin, there was a round that I won HOH that Austin was just left in the middle of nowhere of this game. Nobody was sort of claiming
Yeah.
him as a free agent because Nick was the one that was trying to get this whole entire group together to go pick off all the 10 gaugers.
It was weird.
And
The 10
and
gauge
once-
alliance that I'm a part of, apparently.
right. And so when Nick was gone, I felt like Austin just had a better underdog story. Like, yeah, Jerry and Billy were both picked off pre-jury, but when your number 1 person is picked off in the second round, and then all of a sudden,
You have to scramble from
consecutively,
there.
you see Dylan knocked off, you see Corey knocked off, you see Devin knocked off.
Right. that. I think just because Nick went, I think Austin still had the same people in that general side of the game. Which I firmly believe that the sides were based around Dylan and based around Josh. And because the sides were based around those two people and Josh is still here, that's another big thing that Josh was able to do, because it became Josh versus Dylan in that round 1 boot. It was never Josh versus Chloe. Never. At no point was it Josh versus Chloe. It was always Josh versus Dylan. And so I think Josh, what?
I was gonna say, was it Josh versus Dylan, or was it Dylan versus Billy? Because Billy was very outspoken about.
Billy was outspoken, but Josh was the one on the block, and Josh was the one who kind of needed the people. I don't think Billy was. Yeah, I was gonna say I don't really think Billy was that like.
I did.
Not that he wasn't important to it, but I think he was less big about it depending on who you're with. He was big to the like, so me, when he talked to Dylan about the whole, like, my mom was going through stuff and Dylan was like, please don't put me up, and I complained about that. He was big to me because it was directly affected to me. But Garrett, did you hear? I mean, if you didn't talk to Billy, you wouldn't have really gotten that. And I think
I had to always message Billy first until Billy was on the block and getting evicted. Then he started reaching out to me. And of course, so being the person that I am, like, I'm always open doors to everybody. Like, I'll listen to any side of the story. I don't care. Like, but like, I always had to message him first instead of him, like, him messaging me or like reciprocating that.
But I do think, at least how I saw it, was Dylan versus Josh in the early game. And so because Dylan made him, I mean, if Dylan was here at the end, making yourself that big of a target, making yourself that big person, I think Josh has a similar story, but Josh was not nearly as big of a target because Josh kind of fell back when he needed to.
I was like, Josh kept himself under the radar.
Right.
Dylan made himself a big red target on the radar, I feel like.
Another big thing.
He did. He always made his position in the game, and Josh kind of hid in the background and kind of rode the wave of what was happening. I mean,
the week 2 eviction between Nick and Amanda, it wasn't always going to be Nick and Amanda. It was going to be Amanda and Austin. And I called with Austin and I said, Austin, listen, I'm looking at you going up as a pawn. I'm trying to backdoor Dylan, which for some reason Dylan like forgave me for whatever. Like all of these things, I'm trying to backdoor Dylan. I'm thinking I want to put up you or Nick. I also talked to Peyton, but Peyton was like, don't you fucking dare. And I said, okay, I'm scared of you. And I think Austin was all for throwing Nick under, saying Nick is better for this reason, do Nick for this reason, do this for Nick reason.
Do this for Nick
reason. Yeah, I was like, that didn't Nick word reason. That didn't word right. But like, if they were so close, if they were relying on each other that much, you would think that Austin would try to push me to someone else rather than just saying, okay, do Nick.
Mm-hmm. I honestly can't believe, like, I forgot about that until you said it, Kennedy, but I remember Austin.
Nick wasn't my target.
I remember Austin coming to me and saying, like, Kennedy just told me she's thinking about, like, putting me up or pawning me, and then you didn't put him up. I was like, why on earth are these people, like, telling other people, like, I'm considering putting you up? I thought you navigated your way very well out of that, but, like, it made Austin's game a lot more clear. Like, Austin,
you know what's really
I felt
funny?
like as soon as you told Austin that, I honestly think that was the moment that Austin's switch sort of flipped, and he was like, okay, like, I gotta start playing this game for myself. Right. That's when he decided to throw Nick on the bus. And it was almost in that same round where he decided to start putting, you know, a 4 or 5 person alliance together as well.
I think it's funny because I told Nick that I was looking at him for being a pawn. I told Peyton and I told Austin. You know who I didn't tell anything? You know who I didn't tell anything to? Amanda.
Yeah,
still feel bad about that, but I didn't tell her shit.
You never trusted her.
No. She never spoke to me. The only thing she ever told me, and this is to anyone who watches this for future things, because it's happened before. Never
just join the call.
Never come to me and say we should do a girl alliance unless you have reasoning why. Just because we are girls, I am not going to be in an alliance with you. Just because we are girls. Now, Allie and I think are both very big social players. I think we socially go about things the same way. I'm all for working with Allie because we play similarly, and it makes sense. But Amanda's like, I just want you, me, and Allie to be safe. And that just didn't
Yeah.
I
that's
just
what-
wasn't for that.
I remember, I think I was on a call with her once or whatever, and she's just like, yeah, I would just love the girls to stick together.
Right. And I was like, oh, honey, that's not
Like,
how I
I
play.
trusted her, but like, she wasn't like a number one for me. I did want to keep
Right.
her because I thought she was better for me than
But-
Zach.
But at the
That's
same
why-
time, was
like, I kept-
Josh a number one to anyone?
Also, I kept
Anyone.
her because I also
Like of
kept-
us four, was Josh ever your raise your hand if Josh was ever your number one?
I had a final two with him.
I was gonna
No,
say like
but-
this is
but
what
if
ties
you
back
could-
to.
But like if you could only keep yourself and one other person safe at any point in the game, was Josh that one other person? For me, no.
Honestly, at one point in the game, there was a chance that he could have been because
Could have been
I
or
didn't-
was.
could have been
Okay.
not was.
What about Austin? Was Austin ever your one person?
No,
Never.
Was Zach ever your one person? For me, yes.
possibly between
no.
him and Devin on
Allie's like, fuck Zach.
those,
But
those
Zach
are the
was
two-
my one person.
I like Zach as just and
don't
we
even,
bonded
don't even
well.
butter me up. Don't even
For the
butter me up.
majority of the
That's
game,
so true,
for
Devin.
the majority of the
Even
game,
though
Zach
I
and
joined the
Devin
witch
were my
hunt
two people.
against you, I had your
You-
back until Zach and Kennedy came for me.
You join their witch hunt. Like
That-
it.
I
no,
do
that
like-
is so
I do
true.
like
That is
Zach
so true because
I like
did get
Zach
on
a
call
lot
with
and we
Allie, I
bonded
did
well. It's
defend
just it
you.
was hard to trust him.
Yeah.
I got on call with Allie and I did defend you, Devin. I sure did. Allie
Mhm.
knows this. If she tells the truth or not is another thing. But I did.
Yep. I know.
Wait,
I
guys,
know-
I
know you did,
believe
and
if
then
I
the
remember
following-
correctly, Michael was recording the call that we were all on without Devin. Michael,
He
can
did.
you confirm this? Yeah, I don't know if he can confirm this, but I believe they have footage of that.
Oh God.
I don't want to cry myself to sleep. I don't want to.
I just
See, I don't
so
want
honestly,
to.
there
everyone-
is that.
I honestly don't want to watch you guys.
More.
You guys are.
Can I
delusional.
butter your biscuits, Devin?
Delusional.
Let me butter your biscuits.
No,
Delusional.
but Zach really was in my head. Zach was that one person that I was not going to let happen, like anything happen to at any point.
And
Zach was
here's-
the one person that I was always going to protect.
Honestly,
And
the
here's-
people
It
that
probably went Zach, Devin, Josh.
honestly the people that I was never gonna the ones that I was never gonna put up were like Corey or like Peyton.
Right.
And that's how I was with Devin and Zach because
Yep.
they were my ride or dies in the
Right.
game. Like I wrote
Devin, he didn't have a choice. Devin.
I honestly, there. I hope I never see any of you in All Stars 2. I honestly hope I never
Hey
see.
Devin.
now.
Shut the fuck up.
Devin's like, I will only play
me.
All Stars 2 if nobody else from my
If
season is there.
Kennedy,
Allie,
Allie,
don't
anybody
say.
from- anybody from
Yeah.
1984 season 7 is there. I'm not there. Devin says, no way am I joining that fucking cast.
Yeah, they here's the thing that I'll say because Kennedy made a really good point between I think Zach's game versus Josh's game, and it was that Zach he did make people feel like they were his number ones and vice versa, and for Josh I felt like Josh's was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but Josh sort of had to come to you and make those like for me. He came to me and made that
Yep.
final two. If he was making final twos with other people, it's because you had to have an actual conversation with it. Where with Zach, it was more like, hey, here's the move I just made. Like, let's put my words, like, let's walk the walk. You know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
he showed everything through action, and Josh just did not step up to the plate and say, here's the competition I just won. Now I'm going to use this competition win to show you that I have your back.
So pretty much Zach came to the plate and hit a home run, but Josh would come to the plate and he just struck out.
I think
More like Josh went to the play. Josh was the pitcher, and he just intentionally hit all of the jurors in the head with the baseball. That's pretty much what he did.
So he can't throw worth a shit. Okay.
But
good enough.
I think another big thing that Zach did is on that call, on that recording where Devin and I were yelling at each other. Zach only butt in when he needed to, and Zach was able to talk more to Garrett because Garrett, I don't know if you remember, but you and I didn't really talk a ton with the Devin
No.
thing. That was more Zach convincing you that it makes more sense to get Devin
Yep.
out here. And then
Zach got
Yep.
on call with me personally, and then
Yep.
just
and Zach
just
and I were
not
like,
only-
listen,
he did
we
not
both
only
need to
throw
get on
Devin
call with
under the
Garrett.
bus, He pushed Devin under the bus, became the driver, went forward and backward, forward and backward, forward and backward, and then forward again over
That
Devin's
reminds me of
name.
when Devin said, like, that I took over Allie's HOH, but I, like, came into her HOH room, threw her out of it, locked the door behind her, whatever, however you worded
Yeah, I said you
that.
went in, you dragged her out, and you locked the door behind you.
But no, but I think Zach, like, what Zach did is I think that each of us here had moves that we made. But I don't know if any of us here can say that our moves didn't get impacted, like didn't at some point negatively like get combated or didn't get helped by Zach. Zach had some sort of like toe dip in each of the big moves, whether that was against it and prevented it or helped it along the way.
And once again, the biggest one I still think was Zach. He had two parts of this move. The first one was I think he had some sort of influence. I don't know for sure.
You're covering your camera.
I think he had some sort of influence on getting Peyton up when it was Peyton versus Dylan. And me and Garrett in our group chat with Zach both said we want to vote out Dylan over Peyton. And Zach told us straight up, he was like, you guys.
He's like, I'm not doing it.
He's like, I'm not doing that. You guys don't have the votes to do it. Me and Garrett both still did it anyways. And me and Garrett and Kennedy and Allie, all four of us, we were on the bottom of that vote. We were in the minority and everyone was sort of less scrambling. And then look at Josh. Josh comes out clean cut, like every single round. I felt like just went Zach's way. Like, I don't know if there was a round where Zach was just totally caught off guard by something.
Where he was negatively impacted or like, holy shit, like I'm screwed. Like I don't think.
Did any of us put Zach up in our HOHs?
No.
Nope.
Allie, you did. Yes.
I did.
But Allie, you have to admit that you put Zach
too.
up because you didn't want to put me or Devin up.
No, I was just like,
Allie, that's what you told me.
I thought because of our alliance, I thought we were good, but then I was like, no, never mind.
Was good, and then you guys started to switch hunt. I'm literally just sitting here.
I think if
Honestly,
I think Devin or I needed to win that POV.
Honestly, no, I should have put up Kennedy and Devin.
Devin, I think that if I wouldn't have pulled out 7 seconds and you got 8 and won it, I would have gone up and I would have gone home. I think it came down to whoever won the POV.
Had I won that POV, I was going to be the biggest sore winner and just increase my shield potential. Like that was my plan.
Yeah.
I needed a reason for people to keep me in the game. So like when I
also fuck you for telling me that you didn't think you had a good time.
I was going to put up Kennedy. I was going to put up Kennedy and Garrett. I should have stuck with that.
Corey did that. How did that go for them?
It's because you both put me up. It was mainly because you both
put you up. I know it's crazy.
Man, I felt bad for Corey because Corey told me he wanted to put me up. And then I somehow schmoozed my way through it. I don't know how.
I love Corey. Honestly, they're absolutely
Corey
hilarious.
was such a doll.
I loved all the calls that I had with them. Like
Corey was so lovely.
I love
like Corey and I only ever got on call when we needed to. But like
I think Corey and I called like once or twice.
My pronouns. Sorry. Sorry. They seem wonderful. I hate when I use wrong pronouns like that shit.
Oh yeah. I'm in a game with them right now. And this one guy,
not us talking about other games.
He literally keeps on
talking about everything except for the final 3.
I know. Corey's not in the final 3.
Can we pretend?
Literally, he keeps on misgendering Corey, and I'm just like, sis, we've all me and this other person.
I look back at it.
Michael, insert a question for us if you have one.
Oh yes, question.
Who's gonna get pregnant first? Garrett. Next.
I strongly disagree with that.
I don't.
Who's gonna
get Michael, take it away.
Who's gonna get married first?
Not
Probably
Garrett.
Me. That's my guess.
Wait,
Isaiah, can we get married?
Where's my ring at?
Right.
Yeah. Sick.
Okay, Michael, back to you since you're hosting this.
I'm trying to think of a question. I don't know if I have one.
What pre-juror do we think deserves to be in the final 3?
We're not doing rites of passage.
No, I'm just
I'm good.
Oh my gosh, I'm nervous to see what they say about us in rites of passage. Do you think they're gonna hate us?
I hope so. I hope they burn me to the ground because I want to be burned alive.
I've already been burned to the ground by this cast on multiple occasions.
Devin, stop.
Devin!
Where are
Devin-
them biscuits at? Can
Devin,
get the butter
I
out
flat
and
out
butter
remember Devin
biscuits?
being like, "You owe me a beer," and I was like, "You come to Minnesota and I'll buy you dinner." And I guarantee you, Devin will never be coming to Minnesota because he doesn't like me anymore.
No,
I still
come to
like you
Minnesota
guys
and be
say-
like, I'm just here for the beer.
I'm here for the
else."
Mall of America and the beer.
Oh my god.
Okay. I don't really think I have any more questions. Do you guys have anything specific you want to talk about, or are we about done here?
I think, are you guys all kind of, so my personal thought is, I think that if Zach is in the final two, I'll vote for him to win. And I think Josh and Austin need to tell me their stories.
Honestly, for me, it just goes with like who answers questions and speeches better. I just want to like
But
see
what could we ask them?
I want to
But like Zach has like such a good track though, and like he can like Zach, I think.
I
can
just
tell, like,
want to see if they all own their game.
that's also true.
You know who will? Zach.
Zach,
Yeah.
Zach will
oh,
own his game.
100%. Zach will tell like what he did and how it is.
Yep.
Zach doesn't go.
I don't
Zach
know-
doesn't beat
I
the
don't know
bush.
how I'm voting yet.
I think Josh will try to. I feel like Josh will try to beat around the bush,
I don't
maybe,
know.
or just not tell
It's like
the truth of it, or like just or not entice me enough. Like he can try to sell it to me, but I'm not gonna buy it.
I feel like Austin just proved me wrong more jury phase. Like he didn't really do much at all pre.
You don't think Zach proved you wrong?
No, Austin.
Austin.
Oh, Austin and Josh. I was like, honey, do we need to go back to your
Like
HOH?
Austin was never picked for veto. He was just literally
Hot
Oh.
call. Who's getting the call?
Sorry. That was FaceTime.
Okay. Anyways, back to your thoughts, Allie.
But yeah, I was just Austin was just kind of like there at the beginning. He didn't really do much at all.
In the jury phase of the game, or
Pre-jury.
like in the game in general.
Pre-jury, he was just like, oh, like I don't know where he lies, blah blah blah. Like the only person
Were
he's with
any of them really there at the beginning of the game?
well,
Like really out there,
I mean,
kind of.
two of them
I
were
mean, the
except for
thing that,
Josh
like,
had
made
his
Zach
Two of
face
them
stand
were
on
out
the
nominated.
side.
veto.
Two of them were nominated week one. Austin
And
was
Zach,
just,
Yeah,
like,
but-
Zach won that first veto though. But like,
Right.
I mean, that started something.
But you can't tell me that first veto wouldn't have been used. I think it would have been used regardless of who won it.
You think so?
I think so. Nobody liked seeing Josh and Zach.
yeah.
That's true.
I think it would have been used regardless.
Hey, I was one of the people that played in that game. I got 0 points.
Oh,
Woo!
Blackjack, I
Good
did not.
times. Blackjack.
I believe I
hated it.
competed in, oh, Michael and I just like figured this. I think I competed in 20 comps.
This
Oh,
season.
wow.
Yes.
Damn.
I was not picked for veto until.
But I know
I went away.
at 19, I had 1-7.
That's good. That's
Does
That's
the
a little
number
under
of
half.
wins that somebody has change your thoughts about them? I know that some people might say that it does, and others might say that it doesn't.
what was the
If they
question?
made moves.
it?
I didn't hear the
Number of
question.
comp wins, does it change how you think about them? I think if they don't make moves and all they win is safety, then no, that they don't deserve a win. But I think if they win comps as well as make moves with that power, then they deserve it.
And that's exactly what Zach did. He got power
Right.
and he made moves with his
Yeah.
powers that he got. Even if he didn't need to, he still did it.
And even when I won power, Zach knew he was safe.
Mhm.
He knew he was fine.
Yeah, it's a weird dynamic because I guess my final thoughts are, I think I'm sort of on board with Kennedy where I say like if Zach does win this last HOH and then it doesn't matter who he brings, like he's obviously the heavy favorite. I don't
Yeah.
want to, but I also want to like, I get where Allie's coming from where like you don't want to go into it completely closed-minded. Like I do think that
No.
Josh has a terrific story of coming into the game. Almost everyone knew he was a previous winner of a spinoff, and Austin coming into the game, everyone knew who he was close to. He was on the list, like all of his alliance members, like everyone has a good story. I just
Yeah.
think you have to have a little bit of both. You have to have this idea going into it of here's what I know about each of these three players. Now let me compare what their actual game is to what they're going to claim to their games to be. Because I think everyone here has a good grip about who has exactly done what, who ran what moves. So we'll know like if someone's taking credit for something that's just
wrong-
not the move.
Right.
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 Like if honestly, I think not the only people, but like the only person in the final 3 that can really take credit for getting rid of Devin is Zach. I don't think Josh or Austin can take credit for that. I think the only person that can take credit for getting rid of Garrett would be Josh. Well, no, Austin, I guess
Another
potentially
call.
could, because Austin's was on the block. But like Zach can't take credit for Garrett going. Zach is the only one that can take credit for Devin going. So I mean, for Allie going, who can really? Zach.
I'll tell you who can blame Allie for going. It's Allie.
Devin. Why are you
Not
so mean to Allie?
Because I'm trying to set up All Stars 2 when
You
it's
want
me,
you and
Kennedy-
Allie? I
you
thought
want
we were the
rivals.
rivals.
No,
Wait,
because
okay.
it's gonna be me. It's me, Kennedy, and Allie all walking in, and then I'm
You
gonna
want
win
me
first H2H, and I'm gonna put up the 2 girls, and I'm gonna say, should have started that girls alliance, huh?
Not that.
No.
Okay,
Not
to
to
be
go
fair, YouTube Survivor, I was the only girl in the cast, so that Girls Alliance ran that shit.
Yeah.
Not to go too off topic, but I think the real rival this season is Austin and his hand.
Oh.
Austin in his hand on his. Can we just? I just want
no.
everyone to go back and watch that video when they say Austin, your hand was on your leg, and my oh shit face because I was going to drop after Austin finished his sentence. I was so upset.
I do have another question because I know you guys were talking a little bit about like their reputations before coming into the game. So does what somebody has done before this game or lack thereof, based on their reputation coming into the game, affect how you vote based on what they've done?
So basically, the question is, Josh has won a lot of games. This is Zach's first like actual org. Does that matter?
Honestly,
I just want to hear everybody out.
I'm gonna
I
be
know
honest
you
with
do, Allie. I
I
understand.
think I'll be honest with you. I think it does. Like for someone like it would be different if everyone was like, oh well, Josh has won like other orgs. Like Josh was directly in this community, had won a game, and had a reputation coming in. And the fact that people voted Chloe out over Josh, and I was one of those people, and I knew I had known Chloe for years. But I will say that's gonna be the backbone of Josh's, like that's going to be Josh's main selling point if he gets to the final 2. It's not going to be anything about this game or like what the moves were. I definitely think he's going to reference a couple of times that he had this huge reputation coming in, was on the block 2 times in the first 3 weeks, and that's going to be he's especially against Austin, he's just going to try to play underdog versus underdog, but it's going to be a tough battle if he's against Zach, who actually did something in this game.
I think that if Zach tries, I think one way that Zach could lose my vote is if he tries to pitch, well, this is my first org. Well, this is my first whatever, because he is big on 10 gauge. Not
Every
guess not
time you
big,
hear
but like
those
he
words,
knows how to play those games.
Everybody have a
Take a
beverage
shot.
of choice.
Take a
Everybody have a
shot.
beverage of choice, whether it's Devin's gallon of water, Allie's Light Claw,
Kennedy's
Light
coffee.
Claw,
I
Allie's
will say
Light,
that just
or Kennedy's Starbucks drink, and I'll be probably on my ass.
Starbucks.
What's up,
if
Michael?
you guys do some kind of drinking game that would wrap the season. Every time I said the word ascendance in the cast assessment, they all took a drink. So
Donna.
I'm so excited to see the cast
down.
assessment. I was convinced that you hated me.
okay, do we have anything that we want to talk about?
I'm good.
I think that All Star 2 should actually just be lights out again. I think it should be
Yeah,
lights
just-
out 2.
just run
called
it back.
lights on.
Okay. I'm just gonna wrap this up. So
Goodbye and good night.
yes. So with that,
No chains, and have a good night.
Let's let
with
him
that-
close it out.
over
We're all
it.
trying to close it up for him. Don't
Thanks,
let Michael
Julie.
talk. Don't let Michael
I'm-
talk.
Bye, Michael.
There we go. So that's all I have for you guys. Tomorrow night, you guys will be voting for who you want to represent this season of 1984. You each will get a chance to talk with the final 2. Obviously, we don't quite know who that is yet, but you will each get a chance to talk to them and ask them the questions that you have. Please use that time to figure out who you want to vote or pick their brains for what they did during this game. With that, by the time everybody sees this, we're going to have a winner. So congratulations to whoever that is. So with that.